Oh, I'm bored. My schoolwork is extremely tedious. There's nothing to do here. I'm just kind of sitting here alone in quarantine. I don't know about you, but this past year I was sick and tired of being stuck at home. I'm sure you can bake some cookies or do that weird macrame craft that just ends up a tangled mess on the floor. And don't even get me started with Chloe Ting's shred challenge. But I got bored. I was deeply upset with my situation. I was angry at a stupid bat in China. A bat! I was complaining about something I had absolutely no control over. And while I was over here kvetching in my nice little house, all cozy, cuddling with my puppy, people were actually dying of the virus. And all I could think about were the negatives in my situation. Negativity is a big problem in our society. According to the National Science Foundation, the average person has between 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. Of those, 80% are negative. And with these negative thoughts come common side effects, such as headaches, chest pain, fatigue, upset stomachs, sleep problems, anxiety, and depression. And this is my concern. But hey, dogs boost your mood. So grab your puppy and let's dig into what negativity is. Sniff out the consequences that develop, and finally fetch the solution to feeding the right dog. What is negativity? Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines the word negative as being marked with features such as hostility, withdrawal, or pessimism that hinder or oppose constructive treatment or development. The key word in this definition is hinder. Negativity hinders your development, and it hinders your progress. Gandhi said, "A man is but the product of his thoughts. What he thinks, he becomes." If we are constantly focusing on the negative, we are going to live in a very negative state. Whenever I go to school and ask someone how they're doing, the first response I usually hear is, "I'm tired." And granted, when you have a test, an exam, and 3 quizzes, you will be tired. But people are constantly looking at the negative side of things. You may have gotten up on the wrong side of the bed, but if you would have gone outside instead of snoozing your alarm clock, you could have smelled the roses or appreciate something you don't normally notice. The consequences of our negativity are far greater than we see. Let's say I have a bunch of tests and quizzes tomorrow, and I stay up all night studying. I go to bed for 30 minutes before I have to wake up again at 5 a.m. As I get up out of bed, I step into a nice warm puddle of pee. Isn't the puppy phase just great? I take forever cleaning up the mess, and now I'm running late to school. I quickly get in my car and make the last minute decision to stop for some coffee. As I get to the drive-thru, I realize the most tragic thing has happened. Starbucks is all out of peppermint hot chocolate. I mean, how do you run out of peppermint hot chocolate in the middle of January? I'm pretty sure it should be a crime. By the time I get to school, I just want to cry. But I push through my first hour exam, only to get it back next hour realizing I got bumped down one on my Scantron, meaning my entire test from number 3 down is wrong. At this point, I just start crying. The consequences of my negativity ruined the rest of my day. Because I was so upset over my own test, I didn't even realize that my best friend got an A+. And instead of congratulating her, I was busy complaining. And during lunchtime, when I could have been studying for my math test, I went to the bathroom to listen to sad music. I lost valuable time because I was too consumed in the past with something I couldn't change. The consequences of our negativity are more damaging than we realize. The obvious are the physical. Mark medical reports that people with high levels of negativity are more likely to suffer from degenerative brain diseases, cardiovascular problems, digestive issues, and recover from sickness much slower than those with a positive mindset. And if we really sniff out the consequences, we see that negativity affects how we interact with society, which can lead one to be blind to the plight of others. And ultimately, our negativity is selfish. When we are being negative, we are too focused on our own circumstances. And there's nothing we're doing to help those around us. Another consequence of negativity is laziness. We waste our time complaining instead of looking forward to the future, to the things we can actually change and work on. A third consequence of negativity is loneliness. We've all heard of that classic Debbie Downer. And every time you see her, something is wrong. She didn't do well in her tests, her boyfriend broke up with her, and her mom's having car issues again. And while these problems are all real and need to be dealt with, there are some things in life that we cannot control, and we cannot just dwell on the negative side of things. When we are negative and pessimistic all the time, it affects those around us, and nobody wants to be sad. Negativity is a terrible downward spiral of selfishness, laziness, and loneliness. But there is a way to fetch a solution, and we don't have to go running for it. Author John Gordon presented a valuable story about thinking positively. A man goes to a village wise woman about what's troubling him. He says, "I feel like there are two dogs inside of me. One is positive, loving, kind, enthusiastic. The other is negative, mean-spirited, and a jealous dog. They fight all the time, and I don't know who's going to win." The woman thinks for a moment and says, "I know who's going to win. Whichever dog you feed the most. So feed the positive dog." This means that each day we need to be making a conscious decision to be feeding ourselves with positive energy rather than negativity. The actions are simple. We just need to make them a habit. No matter what adversity comes your way, you can rise above your situation, your disadvantages, and your weaknesses. One amazing thing about our country is the ability to grow. You can start from nothing, and with a positive mindset, you can make something of yourself. Take a young African-American girl born during the 1950s to a poor family. In her childhood, she was abused and molested by a family friend and two family members. After running away from home, she gave birth at 14. Tragically, her child died. Now, at this point, you might think that all hope was lost for this young girl. But given the choice between the negative dogs of self-pity, laziness, and even loneliness, or the positive dog of rising above her situation, Oprah Winfrey chose to focus on the positive. She worked hard, went to college, and was the first woman to own and produce her own talk show. When on her popular TV show, Oprah commented, "What you focus on expands. When you focus on the goodness in your life, you create more of it." But how do we look at the good side of things? Well, look around you. There are so many good things happening around us right now. You're breathing air, aren't you? And yes, Karen, air flows through your mask. Plus, most of us are healthy, and anyone who's listening to this right now has some form of advanced technology, allowing them to access the internet and unlimited resources. Have you walked outside today? A study from the International Journal of Environmental Health Research shows that spending 20 minutes outside can improve your well-being and help you have a positive mindset. Only 20 minutes. And we don't have to exercise. We cannot always change our circumstances. In fact, most of the time, we're completely out of control. But the one thing we can control is how we react and how we view our situations. It's really that simple. Amazingly, during quarantine, pet adoptions from March 15th to April 15th skyrocketed, 122% from the previous 4 weeks. Lots and lots of puppies were adopted to loving homes that fed them, loved them, and I'm sure took excellent care of them. In return, these puppies provided positive energy during a very negative time for many people. But have you been taking care of the right dog in your own life? Today, we dug up what negativity is, exposed the consequences that develop, and finally caught the solution to feeding the right dog. There are great barriers that restrict people, but we cannot allow things like poverty, race, and gender hold us down. Ultimately, we cannot change these things. We can change the way we view our situations. We can rise above all adversity and become the people we are meant to be, simply by feeding the positive dog.